All right, so thank you for joining us today. My name is Brian Laufer, and I'm the Vice President here at QuoteWerks. Today, we're going to be talking about all the new features added in QuoteWerks version 23, build 2. If you're on an older build or version, you can easily update to the latest just by installing version 23 build 2.x. And we will put out smaller incremental builds over the next couple of weeks here as we do some more fine tuning with build 2. If you've already updated to build 2, you may have noticed that we just released 2.05 today. So you do not need to install incremental updates. When you install an update, you receive all the features and fixes available up to and including the build or version you just installed. So just a little bit of housekeeping here. If you have questions as we go along, please feel free to ask them in the GoToWebinar toolbar questions box. If there are any questions that I do not answer throughout the demo, I will do my best to answer them towards the end. That can be about this release or QuoteWerks in general. If you think of a question after the webinar or I do not fully answer your question, make sure to email or give us a call. So as you can see, we will have a short PowerPoint presentation first to discuss some of the new features here. Then we'll actually be demonstrating the key features for you, followed by the opportunity for you to ask more questions. All right, so what's in this update? Well, with any update that we have for QuoteWerks, we typically have integration updates. We have over 55 different integrations, so as those integrations make changes, we have to as well. So we added support for SugarCRM 12.3, GoldMine 2023.1, Autotask PSA had some updates, so we had to make some changes for that. We also added some pretty hefty feature updates in this release as well. Added support for Act for Web version 24.1, and then some minor feature updates for QuickBooks Desktop as well. So probably one of the biggest features added in this release is Autotask as a secondary CRM. For years, we only had this for ConnectWise PSA, but we have added it for Autotask PSA now as well. And you might ask yourself, what does this actually mean? Well, it means that you can use a CRM that's more geared towards the sales process. And I'm saying that very gingerly here, than typically a PSA would. PSAs are great for tickets, for managing your team, but not necessarily always when it comes to the entire sales process. So if you use like Salesforce or HubSpot, Zoho, or Microsoft Dynamics CRM to handle your sales process, like your opportunities, your funnel, until that opportunity is won, well, now you have the ability to do that with QuoteWerks. And then if you use Autotask or ConnectWise, you'll be able to then create that contact or link to that contact inside of the PSA as well and continue that process along. So, and we'll go through this so it makes more sense to you, but basically you can use any CRM that we integrate with and then bring that over to either Autotask or ConnectWise. All right. And then the other big thing that I think most people are excited about in this release would be the new UI changes with enhanced visibility. What does that mean? Well, that means if you use bundles, required items, optional items, or substitute items, you're going to be able to have more visibility. What that means is that when you click on one of those entities to use, you'll now be able to see everything that's in there. So that's good in a couple of different ways. So if you're in the back office, it's easier when it comes to maintaining these entities, so especially like the required and optional items. And then as a sales rep, when it comes to using a bundle, you can now actually search for items that are contained within the bundle. So maybe if you've got a special or maybe you need to make sure that you promote a special item, you can do that now. You can see that within the actual bundle screen, and you'll see that here in just a minute. So as you can see, over on the left-hand side here, we have what the bundles used to be, and now we have the new functionality. So you actually have the ability to search for a child part number. So in this case, if I were to do a search for Charlie Tango 27 Delta 11 in the child manufacturer part number, this 27-inch TV would show up because as you can see over on the right-hand side here, I've got all those bundle items, which is actually really awesome. So you can see what is in there, how many items are contained within that bundle as well. And you have also one of the cool added features too is you have the ability to right click and copy, and it'll copy that manufacturer part number as well. But as you can see, we added the ability to search for the child, and then you can see everything that's in here as well. Now, for required, optional, and substitute items, they're very similar screens, so I'm just going to highlight the required items here. So as you can see on the left-hand side, we had the functionality that we originally had, and then over here on the right, we've got the new functionality. So not only can you filter based on the source database, but now you can also filter based on the primary item as well as the child part numbers as well, just like we did with the bundles as well. And you can see each of the individual items of that entity over here as well. So again, for the front office as well as the back office, you're going to be able to use this functionality quite a bit, especially if you use bundles, required, optional, and substitute items. If you don't use them, maybe this is just a good reminder that you should be using them. So yeah. Let's see, we've got a question here from Matt, which I'll handle here when we're doing the demo. All right, so also we added some new functionality here in 2.05. So if you're not on the very, very latest, you may not have this functionality. But what this does is for those that use our electronic ordering or real-time with distribution, so that's going to be like with TD Synnex, Ingram Micro, or D&H, you used to have to wait for us to make an update in order to be able to handle any warehouse name changes or locations that those distributors have. Well, now we're going to go ahead and automatically update that for you in the cloud. So that way you don't have to wait for us to get that update. It's actually a pretty huge feature there. So before we get in with the demo, I want to make sure that you guys know what resources are available for you. You have free trials available for any of the add-ons for QuoteWerks. So if you're not using Quote Valet, you can get a free trial of that. If you're not using Real-Time or Eatalize, you can get that as well. We have lots of videos on our website. Our help documentation keeps getting longer and longer as we add more of these functionality. As you know, we have live and recorded webinars. We have professional services, training. We have lots of partners out there as well that know QuoteWerks very well as well. And then we also offer phone and email support as well. Just a reminder, make sure that if you have any questions to ask them in the box. We have a few of those that have come in so far. And we will be recording this webinar. It'll be on our website as well as our YouTube channel. If you don't follow us on social media, I invite you to do so. That way you get notified about these types of webinars. And then also if any new features that we come out with, if we have any new like tips and tricks, that sort of thing, definitely follow us on social media. All right, so now that that's out of the way, we'll go ahead and minimize that. And we'll go ahead and we'll start with probably Autotask as a secondary CRM first, just because it's the biggest feature and biggest change, I would say, within QuoteWerks. So let's go through the workflow first, and then what we're going to do is actually show you what the setup is and some of the options that you have available. So first things first, let's go ahead and bring in a contact. You'll notice that I'm using Salesforce here as my primary CRM. And we'll go ahead and bring this from Joe's Brewing here. And then let's go ahead and bring in some products. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and start from a template. That'll be a little bit easier. All right, so we've got this template that's ready to go. So let's go ahead and make some changes here. So maybe Joe's gonna need 5 new workstations. And you notice that we have those quantities that are linked. So as I made the change there, all the other items that needed a change happened as well. So let's go ahead and save this. You'll notice that I am saving it with Salesforce. And we've got 5 workstations. And my status is online. And what I'm going to do now is click on OK. And as you can see, it's going to have us create a new opportunity within Salesforce, and we're going to write those products into the opportunity there. And our stage is, proposal, and you'll see our probability changed, and we'll click on OK. It's adding those 5 products. And now you'll notice that this window popped up for Autotask. And this is going to be a setting. Not everybody is going to want to have it popped up every time, so you can turn this off. But what's nice is at this point, I could link this with an existing opportunity or existing contact within Autotask or create a new one. But I'm going to go ahead and skip it at this point because I probably don't want to have it always updating Autotask, because that's the whole point with this feature, is the fact that I don't really want it in Autotask or ConnectWise PSA as an example until I'm ready to go all the way through the process. Now, that may not be the way that you do it, but it can go either way. But the problem is now if I go to save again, it's going to, after it's added all these products here, it's going to say, hey, guess what? You got to do it again to Autotask. So this is probably not a feature that you're going to want on all the time. So what you can do is if you go to Contacts and set up Contact Manager, you'll notice that the Select Secondary CRM has moved a little bit. It used to be under ConnectWise, but now because we're adding more CRMs that you're allowed to do this with, you can now select which you want as your secondary CRM. So obviously I've got ConnectWise. And this time, what I'm going to do is uncheck the secondary CRM export on each save. Click on OK. So I'm going to save again. And click on OK. And now at this point, it's going to go ahead and update everything within Salesforce, but it's not going to pop up that Autotask window because I don't have it integrating with Autotask until I'm ready to move on to the next phase. So speaking of that, let's go ahead and convert this to an order. Obviously, we're going to go ahead and make it 100%. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Tools menu here and then export to Secondary CRM. And I can either create a new contact or select an existing. In this case, I know that I've got Joe in here. And I'm going to go ahead and select. So at this point, now I can create that completed sale, the link, as well as the quote. If I had any to-dos or one-off notes, I could do that as well. I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. And here we go. We're going to go ahead and integrate with Autotask. We're going to create a new opportunity. We could link it to an existing one if we wanted to as well, and click on OK. And now it's just going through and creating the link document and then the quote as well. And just like that, now I have it saved to both. That one opportunity is now saved in Salesforce, and it's also saved to Autotask as well. All right, we had a couple of questions that came through here, so let's go ahead and answer them. Let's see, Nathan had a question. I'm curious, I had thought that Autotask and Manage are CRMs. Why would I need to have a primary CRM like Salesforce or Dynamics? It's a great question, Nathan. So it really depends on your sales process. So in some organizations, everything is funneled through, and the sales process is funneled through a separate CRM that is more geared towards the entire sales process. Like with HubSpot, you have the ability to basically, anytime someone goes to a website or clicks on an email, that's all funneling through your pipeline, so you can see all that information. To my knowledge, Autotask and ConnectWise doesn't quite have that capability. Also, sometimes people want to keep their salespeople that are not so technical outside of the ticketing capability, and that's why they have that as well. So really, you can definitely use Autotask, you can definitely use ConnectWise to handle your sales process, but if you don't, we now make it able so you have the ability to do that as well. And I did want to note, currently, if you are using QuoteWerks Web, the functionality is available for secondary CRMs for ConnectWise. Autotask is being worked on right now. We should have that here shortly as well. All right. Let's see, question from Jennifer here. Does tracking update in real time? So to answer that question, if you are purchasing from like TD SYNNEX, Ingram Micro, or in D&H, yes, that tracking is updated in real time. Let's see. All right. I'm just reading through some of the questions here. Sorry about that. Steve had a question here. Could I have my primary as none and just have secondary as Autotask or ConnectWise? Weird question, but there is a use case for this, having greater control of when stuff's created in Autotask and ConnectWise. So we don't have that because really it's not something we really want to promote as an option. But what I will say, what you can do is when you go to save, we have this option here for I'm online versus offline. If you say offline, it's not going to save back to the PSA or the CRM. So that is how you would do that type of functionality there, Steve. The other thing I wanted to say too, we didn't really talk about the setup beyond just selecting the secondary CRM option. So just like if Autotask was your primary, you would have to click on Autotask first and then go through and do the whole setup process. Probably shouldn't have clicked on that. We'll just wait for that to come back here. All right, let's wait for this. All right, so you would set this up like you normally would, and then at that point, you go back and select Salesforce to be your primary CRM, and then you would be able to then select your secondary CRM there. Let's see. All right, so question here from different Steve. Used to use Outlook, but was keen to use HubSpot, so swapped to that a few years ago. I find it a bit awkward for parsing in addresses properly, as HubSpot has unconventional address field. It is possible to have primary CRM as Outlook and secondary as HubSpot. That's really interesting, Kane. And that's not really what this is designed for. I'm not sure exactly when it comes to the way that HubSpot is doing the addresses, but definitely email into support and maybe they can come up with a solution there for you. All right. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to some of the other functionality here, because some of the other questions are related to that. Okay, so we talked about the new bundles feature. So if I go to bundles now, and we're going to just click on bundles here. Here we go. We now have that bundle. So we can see all the bundles that I have. You can also filter by part number. So for instance, if I wanted to filter any of the bundles that had this part number, for instance, so I can right click copy to begins with. And now my filtered list of bundles is now limited to 2 as opposed to, the more than a handful that I had there. And you can see over to the right, I can see all the items that are contained within there. So it really helps as a sales rep when it comes to finding a particular bundle that you want to use. Also, you can definitely use this functionality when it comes to editing as well. So this way, maybe you need to replace a specific item within a bundle. So you can go ahead and search for it, edit it, and then go ahead and remove that item and then add in a new one. So that is a piece of functionality that you have there as well. Also, when it comes to the back office side here again, because most of your sales reps won't use this end of it, but when it comes to products and optional items here, we do have the ability to search for, a specific manufacturer part number. So again, we could search on this guy, and it's only contained within this item. So if I were to add this item to my quote, I'd have the ability to select any of these options. Okay. I know I'm going through this kind of quickly, but I just wanted to make sure that you kind of have a highlighted view of this functionality here. All right. Let's see. Okay, Matt, your question about the bundles, definitely send that into as a feature request. That could be possible to be added. I just don't know where that would be on the priority scale. If we get more people asking for it, as you know, we can definitely look into adding that. All right. So let's go ahead now and use that optional items feature, because that's something that people don't really take advantage of enough. They definitely use bundles, you definitely use the configurator, but when it comes to required or optional items or even substitute items, I don't really see a lot of customers using that, and it's super powerful when it comes to that functionality in QuoteWerks. Actually, oops. All right, so as you can see, I was doing some testing there. So as you can see now, so I'm using the Add Item Assistant with QuoteWerks. And now because I had those optional items there, now I have the ability to select to add more. So maybe I want to go ahead and add these 3 items with that item as well. So if I click on Add, now I now have each of these items added to my quote as well. Now, of course, I didn't actually have the quantity specified. So let's go in and make some changes here. So let's go ahead and move this, and we'll delete those lines. So let's go under products and optional items. We're gonna go ahead and edit this. Oops, edit my items. And we'll go ahead and edit that. The quantity will be 1. Quantity of 1. And lastly, quantity of 1. We'll close that now. Click on close, go back to products. And now if I were to search for that item again, so this is the one that I was working with. And we can double click on this again. And now if I were to select these items and add them, now it's going to behave the way that we want. So if I make a change here and say that I want 5 of these 27-inch TVs, we'll now have 5 of all the other ones as well. All right, so we had some more questions here. Question from Nathan again. Can you make an optional item required? I offer NVRs to clients, and I would like to have the hard drives be required, but with different capacity options. So you could, and the way you would do that is you'd probably, it's a good question. I would probably do it as with requirements. So if I were to go to products and required items, we'll do an add and do this. And now we're going to go ahead and edit items. I'm just going to add a couple of items here. Maybe we'll go with some of my mouse or keyboard options here. Okay, so what you could do here is you could do it option. So you couldn't do either or. You could have them so that they're both added and they're both added as options. I think that's really the only way that we would be able to do that. So let's go ahead and we'll do that, and we'll do this again. So to really do that functionality, Nathan, you'd probably want to do some sort of configurator, because that would allow you to walk through the process. So if they were to select that NVR, they'd then be able to select which hard drive they want. But now if we do a new document here, it's just going to be easier to see. If we go to products and we go back to our products here and we use our sample, I'm not going to select any of those optional items, but I'm going to go ahead and add, and now it's going to utilize to get the pricing for those other items. And you can see now I have the ability to, these two items here are optional selected, and you could then at that point go through and unselect the option or make it so it's an either or type option as well. Neil, I'm not exactly sure what you're asking for there. I mean, because basically when you're talking about items being monthly as well as being taxable or not, that's going to be handled on the product lookup side. So you'll notice that, of course, that's not going to give a good answer there, but let's go ahead and select this item here again, and we'll go ahead and add this S video cable because, you know, we're up to date with all of our electronics here. You'll notice that my S video cable here is taxable, as well as it being, say, $40.60. So if I were to copy this item and I go to products here and I search for that part number again, I can now edit this item. And I can go ahead and make this item in particular, say, instead of the, see, I'm just trying to think of the right way to do this. Instead of it being a, you know, a $35 price, we can make it so it's a $60 price, a list price of $75, a cost of $25. That way it's definitely different from what we had there before. And then what we could do as well is we could make it so it's recurring, and like your example where it was monthly, and we'll include it. Okay, and then we'll click on OK. So now when I go to look for, if I go to find this item one more time here, and we select that S video cable, you'll see that the S video cable now is, yeah, so now we're going to be, it will be monthly as opposed to the way it was before. Okay. Question from Neil. With a bundle, if I change the options for it to be monthly, it also makes everything taxable. I see what you're saying. So with that, it really depends. It doesn't actually make everything taxable. It'll actually do it all. Actually, it shouldn't. So Neil, with that one, if you have any, definitely contact support and they can help you with that. All right, so that's kind of like an overview. Denise had a question. It's going to be really not applicable to this webinar. So Denise, definitely contact support and they'll be able to help you with that. And I did want to say that during the pre-webinar questions, one of the things that you guys said was that you would like to have your webinars be about 30 minutes. So I'm trying to keep to that. Oh, perfect, Neil. Awesome. So I am going to go ahead and end this here unless you guys have some additional questions. I did also want to say that we will be sending out an email probably next week about a tips and tricks series, so you can definitely sign up for that. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to make it so it's an opt-in list, and if you're interested, we'll let you know about some cool tips and tricks, kind of like some of these stuff that I went over here, but it'll go into more detail and walk you through those things. Also, we're going to start doing more webinars, definitely focusing on QuoteWerks Web as well. So, and some other features that our customers have asked for, and also support things that would make sense for you guys to know about. So with that, if you haven't already updated to QuoteWerks, I invite you to do so. The best thing to do is to go to our website, QuoteWerks.com, go to our customer area. You'll see right at the top here what our current release is. You can click on Update Center and you can download the build right from there. And that's what allows you to see the full feature list, what's available in each build, as well as everything that's available in that version as well. So with that, if there aren't any other questions, thank you for joining us today. Definitely call support 407-248-1481. Send us an email, support@quoteworks.com. And if you're interested in a demo or a trial of some additional modules with QuoteWerks, you can definitely contact sales@quoteworks.com as well. So with that, have a great day.